This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 9 and 6. It says, "Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding." Before going any further, I want to give infinite honors and prayers to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. You Akim, you Aqua, those are your brothers and sisters in the Hebrew that believe. Okay, and I'm the brother Bayan from the GMS New Orleans camp. And again, I kicked it off with this Proverbs chapter 9 and 6. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. All right, because ultimately we know that being a fool, here is not having the understanding of the scriptures. All right, and if you don't have that understanding of the scriptures, you're probably appointed to death. Okay, and it's very important for you to get the understanding of the scriptures. All right, because Jake could read they got people that probably say that they read the Bible back and forward, from front to back and they read every chapter, and they know this and that and the third, but do you have understanding of it? Okay, the understanding of the scriptures is very much important. All right, and that's how you get into the depth of things, and you're able to use the scriptures on your everyday life. Okay, but again, it says, "Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding." All right, so forsake that nonsense. Forsake the heathen, the 2/3 of our people, that's ultimately again appointed to death, man. All right, when you get the scriptures and you get the understanding of these things, it really teaches you to stay out of the way. All right, it orders your life correctly, but again, you have to be able to understand that. All right, but another precept that I have is the book, still in the book of Proverbs, chapter 19 and 8. All right, it says, "He that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding shall find good." All right, he that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul, and he that keepeth understanding shall find good. All right, you're ultimately going to find good at the end of the day, if you keep yourself locked in with the scriptures. All right, keep yourself locked in to the body, to be able to learn more and more. Okay, because we know ultimately, you can't really learn these things by yourself. Okay, you have to be under teachers. All right, wise men that's definitely been putting in the work before us. All right, because again, we were all called in at different times when it comes to this truth, but we got the elders and apostles that's been pushing since like the 70s, 70s, 80s, whatever it may be. Salaki for getting the time incorrect if I am, but regardless of the fact, we in 2025 right now. Okay, and a lot of groundwork has already been done, so that's why you need to really cleave unto these wise teachers, and obviously discern the doctrine of what's being brought out, if you don't subscribe to GMS, but which I suggest any believer to subscribe to GMS, because I believe that we have the 144% truth. I believe the elders and apostles, has the spirit and has been given down the 144% truth, but you have to be able to be under these wise men to get that understanding. Okay, and roughly paraphrasing, I know it's in Sirach chapter 6 around 30, but it talks about pretty much, if you see a man of understanding, getting to them B times. Okay, and wearing their footsteps on a door, roughly paraphrasing. All right, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to get understanding. All right, so you have to strive for that, strive for that, and really have to put in the work, to get around these elders and apostles. Okay, you can't be a keyboard warrior, all day, and you get what only you see on YouTube, and so on and so forth. Because if you really want to get into the depths of it, you really have to be a part of the body. Okay. And Jake found that out, a couple of years ago. I think I forget, I lose track with time, but I think I'm close to maybe 3 to 4 years, in the truth, and part of the body of GMS, but just from being on the outside and being on the inside, it's a whole different, ball game. The breakdowns that brothers get, on their off times, and through the classes and things that we do. It's really deep in a lot of things that you maybe have thought that you've known, and read it so many times, but it has a couple meanings. All right, it has this meaning, it has this meaning. Oh, it's a parable, and that's the point. The Lord definitely doesn't want everybody to get this. So if he doesn't want everybody to get this, ultimately, first and foremost, pray to the Lord, for the understanding. But, that just shows you how much harder that you have to work for it, if the Lord doesn't want everybody to get it, if that makes sense, But continuing on, that was Proverbs 19 I brought out. I'm gonna jump one more to chapter 21, Proverbs 21. All right, 21 and 16. It says, "The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding, all right, shall remain of the congregation of the dead." All right. So again, to the people who could care less about these scriptures, all right, they're considered, spiritually dead. Okay, and you don't want to be, amongst them. All right, that's real life zombie land, with these niggas, of Israel. You don't want to take no parts of that. All right. And that's plain and simple. It ain't really too many other ways to break that precept down. But again, you want to keep your surroundings, with the men that are going to constantly sharpen you up, that's going to constantly build you and help you, get more understanding. Okay, that's the whole purpose. The Lord doesn't, he doesn't want us to obviously go off and be a part of these bullshit ass, things that these niggas are doing. Okay, in this captivity that we're in, that just ends up being nothing but folly and bullshit. But he wants you to be around men of understanding to push his word. If you're of that number, if you have the spirit, he wants you to push that word and get understanding of the scriptures. All right, that's our whole duty of being here right now, getting understanding and pushing the word out, looking for the trying to seal the hopeful elect. Keep on pushing the word out till everything's sealed, and once it's sealed, the Lord is going to come back. Okay, but it's going to take time. But while we have this time, I'll behoove anybody who's a true believer, or say that they're a true believer, to really get in these books, man. Get in these different books of the apostles, old and new. It's not just read the New Testament, it's not just read the Old Testament. You got to read you got to eat the whole roll, as the scriptures say. Okay, but another precept that I have is the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and 104. It says, "Through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way." Okay, and that is pretty much getting an understanding of these precepts, as well as the history, and knowing who you are, what tribe you possibly come from, and so on and so forth. But it directs you into the things of light. All right, and it directs you out of that darkness. It directs you out of that congregation of the dead. Okay, and again, that's the importance of it. All right, but it says, through the precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. And that's another, factor of getting understanding. You can notice when something is wrong. You notice the false way of things of the society that we live in, and you just completely vexed. Jake is vexed day in and day out of this place, man. Just by understanding what the hell is really going on around here, understanding who the enemy is, understanding the lewd acts that he's doing, and who his main target is. Okay, and just how the Lord is just operating this whole thing. But you can't get that without getting your head in these scriptures, getting your mind in these scriptures. All right, but it says, verse 105, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Okay, this word, man, this word is the light that we've been looking for. All right, that's going to direct us to our salvation. Okay, so that's another reason why you should get your head in these scriptures. Your salvation is a part of it. Reading and getting an understanding of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be operating. These things, and getting the understanding of it is unmeasurable when it comes to any type of wealth. Just as it tells you that the wisdom is more precious, is precious than rubies, than gold, than anything. If you could get anything, get wisdom and understanding. Okay, you have to be able to execute. Okay, execute the wisdom that you're receiving. Okay, but I think that was pretty much straight to the point. I didn't really have too much, and I just pray that this lesson was edifying, man. I think that was it. Let me see. No, I got one more. Salaki. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 3 and 29. It says, the heart of the prudent man will understand a parable, an attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. All right, the attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. And that's something that you could tell that a lot of brothers came into this truth, because we were searching, we was looking for the truth. We was looking for understanding of what the hell is going on. The Lord put the spirit on many men, and we all have similar stories that Jake was looking for something, looking for answers. All right, and being in this thing, that desire to hear these parables and everything that's going on in the scriptures that the Lord is breaking down, explaining, for example, things of like World War III, and the things that's going to happen before World War III, the MOTB, what is the MOTB, all of these things. Once you have the ears to hear these things and the eyes to see these things, you desire more. Okay, and that's something that you can tell is a quality of a man of the Lord, is constantly desiring more and more understanding. All right, but again, it says the heart of a prudent man will understand a parable. A prudent man being a wise man. A wise man is gonna the heart of the wise man will understand a parable, and attentive ear is the desire of a wise man. Prudent pretty much goes into being wise. Okay, but continue to have that desire. Continue to work, man. The job is not over. But our salvation is nearer than what we believe. Okay, and I mean I think that's pretty much it, man. Just keep on grinding, keep on working, and whatever you did yesterday, do more. Whatever you did yesterday, today do more. The next day, do more. Find whatever you could do the next day and do more. Okay, and I'm speaking to myself first and foremost. Okay, but that was definitely it right there. So I pray that this lesson was edifying. Praying to get out of here, I want to give infinite honors and prayers to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the whole elect. You Akim, you Akwat, to your brothers and sisters in Hebrew that believe. Shalom.